In school, I believed I worked best under pressure. That's why I procrastinated every project, every assignment, every exam. A lot of us grow up believing that motivation comes first, that once we feel inspired, action will follow. But honestly, life rarely works this way. We end up waiting for motivation like it's a guest of honor. But what if it's the friend who shows up after the party starts? Maybe motivation isn't the starting point. Maybe action is. Hi, I'm Kuhu, a counselor, an art and pop culture enthusiast, and your buddy in figuring out the art of living your best life. Here on Kuhuverse, we talk about why our brain does what it does and how we can use that information to level up our goals, routines, and mindset. Because I believe mental health isn't about just getting by, it's about creating a life that feels like you. Here on Kuhuverse, we talk about everything from psychology, art, pop culture, and lifestyle. So if that's something you're into, make sure to subscribe and let's get started with the video. There were so many days when I would plan to wake up early, work out, study, but I just didn't. I kept waiting to feel motivated, as if one feeling would magically change everything. In school, I believed I worked best under pressure. That's why I procrastinated every project, every assignment, every exam. But it wasn't inspiration, it wasn't motivation that would help me study at that last moment. It was the fear of failing. Then, with university, with work, and especially with this channel, I realized there's no one to track my progress, not like they used to in school. With the channel, there are no deadlines, just me. So I had to learn something a bit uncomfortable. If I keep waiting for motivation, nothing will ever start and nothing will ever get done. Understanding the motivation loop changed everything. How I build habits, chase goals, and even how I see myself. But first things first, what is motivation? The definition that changed things for me was the APS definition that motivation is a person's willingness to exert effort in pursuit of a goal. That word, willingness, was what changed things. Because willingness isn't action, it's not a moment, it's simply potential. For years, I used to say I want to start a YouTube channel, but I had endless reasons not to. I'm awkward on camera, I don't have the right gear, I don't know how to edit. The willingness was there, but the movement, the actual action it requires to start a channel wasn't there. Instead, I just had a list of reasons why I can't right now. Maybe some other day. So maybe the problem isn't losing motivation. Maybe it's that we confuse willingness with action and then wonder why nothing ever changes. The key here is realizing motivation doesn't create action, action creates motivation. We expect the cycle to be motivation, action, result. What if the cycle is more like action, dopamine, motivation, more action? Because I used to wait every single time for motivation before I started on, say, an assignment for school. And then after I started, I used to think, wait, this is so easy. Why was I wasting so much time waiting? And what was I even waiting for? Because every time I complete even a small task, I feel more motivated to keep going. Not before I start, but after I've already started. Think about how you work. And do you relate to this? Do you also feel, actually, I feel more motivated when I start? And I don't really feel that motivated to actually start working, but it changes once I'm in the zone. So I decided to start small, clean one tiny corner of my room, open one tab, read one article, maybe even just half an article. That's just the goal. These tiny habits built momentum, and momentum did what motivation never could. You don't need to tackle the entire task at once in one single sitting. Maybe you could start with just 5 minutes, or start small, like reading just one page today, and that gets you in the zone. Also, it helps build momentum in the sense of I read for 5 minutes yesterday, I read for 5 minutes today, I've been reading for 5 minutes for the past week, so let's just do it today as well. So, momentum helps, but honestly, not on days that I slipped. On those days, I got caught up in the all or nothing trap. I've already messed up half of today. I'll just try again tomorrow. I realized I didn't need more motivation. I needed systems that would help me. I needed an identity that backed me, and the most important thing, I needed to change the way I talk to myself. Because momentum creates proof. Every small action becomes evidence. Evidence that you can rely on yourself. And that evidence helps you create a new identity. For me, it was a person who works ahead of time, a person who gets things done. And that self trust became the backbone for my discipline. Discipline stopped feeling heavy once I stopped seeing it as forcing myself and started seeing it more as self respect. A quiet way of telling myself, I've seen you show up before, you can do it again. That's how I went from I want to start a YouTube channel to I have a YouTube channel, I run a YouTube channel. And that identity made showing up feel natural, almost obvious. Motivation and discipline no longer feel like external things I need to chase. They're simply byproducts of how I live. If there's anything I've learned this year, it's this. One, you don't need that much motivation, you need more momentum. And momentum can be built by one small action, even on days you don't feel like it. Two, motivation isn't something outside of you, it's something you create, you can control. And three, discipline is the trust you build with yourself over time. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Also, what's your take on motivation? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you like this video, I think you'll like these two as well.